Hello, my name is Amalie Kestler. I'm the head of domestic affairs at Politiken, the daily newspaper that is a media partner for C40 this week in Copenhagen. I just want to start real quick by welcoming everyone in this room. I'm really happy that you're all here because we're going to talk about a very important subject. And the subject is, of course, city solutions for clean air. The title, Breathe Deeply. So 95% of the people living in C40 areas live in areas where the air pollution is worse than the guidelines by the World Health Organization. And half of these people are actually living in areas where the air pollution is 3 times worse than the guideline states. And of course, this has grave consequences, as we all know: health issues, rising health costs, pollution. So this is an area that's really affecting millions of people. And that's the topic for the next hour. And the purpose is to get more knowledge, be inspired, to know what cities around the world are doing and what businesses are doing to do something about this great problem. And I'll just start here by introducing Shirley Rodriguez, Deputy Mayor for Environment and Energy from London and a C40 board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Amalie, for your kind introduction, and apologies, I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I'm hoping to get through this speech without coughing too much. And I was really pleased to be invited to open this important discussion, and it's so great to be with so many of you here at this Breathe Deeply session focused on city solutions for clean air. And we have a great lineup of speakers today, and you'll be hearing from cities, businesses, and others about some of the innovative approaches and solutions that they're using to clean up our dangerously polluted air and create healthier communities. And I believe that many of the solutions that we're going to hear about today, as well as many others that are being developed as we speak, will be critical to tackling the scourge of air pollution in our cities. And it really is a scourge. Air pollution is the greatest environmental health threat faced by urban dwellers worldwide. The World Health Organization reports that a shocking 9 out of 10 people around the world are breathing dirty air. And they estimate that 95% of the residents of C40 cities live in areas that exceed health-based guidelines for fine particulate matter. And the problem in many places is getting worse. Globally, average air pollution levels are rising and are especially severe in some of the world's fastest growing regions, urban regions. And the reason why this is so serious is that poor air quality is having very significant health impacts, contributing to millions of premature deaths across the world each year. And in London alone, 2 million Londoners are exposed to illegally polluted air. 400,000 of those are children. And thousands of people die earlier than they need to each year because of it. Air pollution is also a social injustice, with those most affected living in the poorest and most vulnerable communities. And in London alone, our toxic air has an economic cost of up to £3.7 billion. That's £3.7 billion every year just from the health impacts. So I'm sure you'll agree that's simply unacceptable and can't be allowed to continue. But the good news is that the cities are at the front line of this challenge, and they're increasingly taking bold and innovative action. For example, we've seen Los Angeles adopting new ways of measuring and mapping air quality. Paris ambitiously reallocating road space to pedestrians and cyclists, and Oslo advancing the electric vehicle revolution. And in London, we're doing all we can to be at the forefront of those solutions. We've been cleaning up our buses, so near enough 80% of the existing bus fleet is now Euro 6 or better. And we now have Europe's largest zero-emission bus fleet. We've been cleaning up our taxis, no longer licensing new diesel vehicles. And if you've been to London, you'll have seen the new zero-emission capable taxis. They're fantastic. You know, over 2,500 of them on our streets now. And to help support them, we've installed over 200 rapid charge points since May 2016, and we're working with our London boroughs to install thousands of standard chargers too. You'll see them in lampposts now. And earlier this year, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, introduced the ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ as we call it, in central London. And that means that vehicles need to meet strict new emission standards to drive in the zone, or they have to pay a charge. And that scheme is working. Since April this year, 75% of vehicles in that central zone are meeting the ULEZ standards over an average 24-hour period. And that's a massive increase from 39% in February 17, when we announced the intention of installing that new initiative. There's also been a large reduction in the number of older, more polluting vehicles in the ultra-low emission zone, with over 12,500 fewer of those dirty vehicles detected on average every day in July compared to March. So that's a reduction of 1/3 on those polluting vehicles. And more importantly, we're starting to see real-world improvements in air quality, including a reduction of approximately 20% in nitrogen dioxide roadside concentrations in central London after just 1 month of the ULEZ being introduced. So you can imagine I'm really incredibly proud that yesterday London received a C40 award for our work on introducing the ultra-low emission zone. And it really is a testament to the hard work of all those involved, from the officers at the Greater London Authority, City Hall and Transport for London, through to the campaigners and who've been asking us to do more, and to the Londoners who are changing their behaviour, and that's individual Londoners and businesses. So I pay tribute to them because they've recognised how important tackling our toxic air is and are taking action. And that also shows what can be done with strong political will and by working with and learning from other cities, because it's through organisations like C40 and events like today that we can share what works and also what doesn't, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And it's only by doing this in collaboration that we'll be able to successfully tackle our global air pollution challenge. So in conclusion, you're going to hear from a number of speakers who've got incredible stories to tell about what they're doing in their cities and that can be replicated to others. I'm afraid I have to leave because I have to join our steering committee, so I'm going to unfortunately miss what they're going to be saying. And one of the speakers I'm going to now hand over to is the inspirational keynote speaker, Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, who sent a video message that's going to be played. So thank you very much for letting me tell you a little bit about what we're doing in London and what the other cities are doing, and enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you, Amalie.
C40 के इस सम्मेलन में दुनिया भर के शहरों से आए हुए सभी मेयर्स को, मंत्रीगण को और सभी नगर अध्यक्षों को दिल्ली के लोगों की ओर से, भारत के लोगों की ओर से, मेरी ओर से सबको नमस्कार, सबको मेरा प्रणाम। आज दुनिया भर से यहाँ पे इतने सारे लीडर्स इकट्ठे हुए हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज को, पोल्यूशन को चर्चा करने के लिए। और इसी वक्त दुनिया के एक और कोने के अंदर एक छोटी सी लड़की ग्रेटा थनबर्ग, उसने पूरी दुनिया के अंदर हंगामा खड़ा किया हुआ है। ग्रेटा थनबर्ग जो बोल रही है उससे पूरी दुनिया के युवा, पूरी दुनिया के लोग उसके समर्थन में खड़े होते जा रहे हैं। ग्रेटा थनबर्ग ने यूएन में बोला था, "You all come to us, young people, for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing." हम लोगों में से कई लोग ग्रेटा थनबर्ग के तरीके से असहमत हो सकते हैं, हमारे में से कई लोग ग्रेटा थनबर्ग से असहमत हो सकते हैं, लेकिन ग्रेटा थनबर्ग ने जो मुद्दा उठाया क्लाइमेट चेंज का और पोल्यूशन का, उससे पूरी दुनिया उसके साथ जुड़ती जा रही है। और जिस तरह से इस मुद्दे को उसे समर्थन मिल रहा है, कई शहरों के अंदर लाखों युवा सड़कों के ऊपर हैं, सोशल मीडिया के ऊपर उसे जबरदस्त समर्थन मिल रहा है, उससे एक बात तो साफ है कि पूरी दुनिया के लोग अब क्लाइमेट चेंज के ऊपर कॉन्क्रीट स्टेप्स की उम्मीद करते हैं हम सब लोगों से। और लोग तैयार हैं, लोग केवल तैयार नहीं हैं, लोग हमसे डिमांड कर रहे हैं। ये बात मैं अपने व्यक्तिगत अनुभव से आप लोगों के सामने रखना चाहता हूँ। हमारी दिल्ली शहर के अंदर, दिल्ली स्टेट के अंदर हमारी सरकार बनी थी 2015 में। दिल्ली में बहुत पोल्यूशन था। पोल्यूशन की वजह से लोग बड़े दुखी थे। और मुझे याद है 2015 की सर्दियों के अंदर आप सब लोग जानते हैं टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन की वजह से जितना स्मोक होता है वो सारा का सारा एक तरह से शहर को एनगल्फ कर लेता है। सर्दियों में 2015-16 की सर्दियों के अंदर मुझे याद है बहुत ज़्यादा पोल्यूशन हो गया था। मेरे कुछ मित्रों ने मुझे सुझाव दिया कि एज एन इमरजेंसी स्टेप हमें ऑड इवन करना चाहिए। ऑड इवन क्या होता है? ऑड इवन इज राशनिंग ऑफ व्हीकल्स। उसमें ये होता है कि ऑड डेट्स के ऊपर, फॉर इंस्टेंस 1 जनवरी, 3 जनवरी, 5 जनवरी ऑड नंबर की प्लेट्स, ऑड नंबर वाले व्हीकल्स चलेंगे और इवन डेट्स के ऊपर इवन नंबर वाले व्हीकल्स चलेंगे। सो जैसे ही आप ऑड इवन लागू करते हैं 50% व्हीकल्स गो ऑफ द रोड। तो इससे पोल्यूशन तो कम होता है, डेफिनेटली होता है। जब 50% व्हीकल्स सड़क के बाहर चले जाते हैं तो पोल्यूशन कम होता है। तो मुझे कुछ मित्रों ने बताया कि अगर हमने ये किया तो जनता नाराज हो जाएगी, इट विल हैव पॉलिटिकल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस, जनता विद्रोह करेगी, इट्स अ वेरी हार्श स्टेप। लेकिन पोल्यूशन को दूर करने के लिए हमने तय किया कि इसे हम करेंगे। और मैंने जाके जनता को समझाया, टीवी पे, रेडियो पे मैंने जनता से बात की। मैंने उनको समझाया कि किस लिए ऑड इवन ज़रूरी है, पोल्यूशन को कम करना किस लिए ज़रूरी है। 1 जनवरी से 15 जनवरी 2016 को हमने ऑड इवन लागू किया दिल्ली के अंदर। हमें डर था कि लोग इसे पसंद नहीं करेंगे, हमें डर था कि हमें बहुत सारे चालान इम्प्लीमेंट करने पड़ेंगे, फाइन लगाने पड़ेंगे। एंड लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, मुझे ये कहते हुए बड़ी खुशी हो रही है आपको बताते हुए कि दिल्ली की जनता ने इसको बहुत ज़बरदस्त समर्थन दिया। बहुत कम नेग्लिजिबल फाइन्स हमें लोगों के ऊपर लगाने पड़े। लोगों ने इसको खूब जम के इसका समर्थन किया। लोग बहुत खुश थे, लोगों का फीडबैक बहुत अच्छा था। उससे हमारे हौसले बहुत बढ़ गए और उसके बाद एक एक करके हम लोगों ने ढेरों स्टेप्स उठाए दिल्ली के अंदर पोल्यूशन कम करने के लिए। हमने डीजल व्हीकल्स के ऊपर कई सारे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाए। कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट्स पे जो डस्ट उड़ता था उस पे कई सारे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाए। हमने कोल बेस्ड हमारे जितने पावर प्लांट्स थे वो सारे बंद कर दिए। हमने दिल्ली के अंदर बहुत बड़े स्केल के ऊपर एफॉरेस्टेशन किया और आज 4 साल के बाद दिल्ली का पोल्यूशन 25% कम हो गया है। ये बहुत बड़ी, हम लोगों के लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है कि पोल्यूशन बढ़ना बंद हो गया, पोल्यूशन कम हो गया है, 25% कम हो गया। अभी हमें और भी काफ़ी कुछ करना है। वी आर नॉट सेटिस्फाइड विद जस्ट 25% रिडक्शन इन पोल्यूशन। हमारा बहुत, इट्स जस्ट अ बिगनिंग, हमें और काफ़ी लंबा रास्ता तय करना है। लेकिन मैं यहाँ पे आप लोगों को जो हमने स्टेप्स लिए उसकी लिस्ट बताने की मेरी कोशिश नहीं है। मेरी कोशिश ये है कि अगर हमें कोई भी बड़ा बदलाव करना है उसके लिए लोगों को साथ लेना ज़रूरी है। नंबर 2, दुनिया के लोग इस टाइम तैयार हैं। दुनिया के लोग केवल बातें नहीं सुनना चाहते, दुनिया के लोग कॉन्क्रीट स्टेप्स चाहते हैं। और अगर हम कोई भी कॉन्क्रीट स्टेप उठाते हैं, अगर हम जनता को एक्सप्लेन करें और उनको साथ लेके चलें, लोग हमारा साथ देंगे। ये मैं अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से बता रहा हूं। और जो सपोर्ट ग्रेटा थनबर्ग को पूरी दुनिया के अंदर मिल रहा है उसके बेसिस पे मैं बोल रहा हूं। अंत में मैं केवल ये कहना चाहता हूं, गुड एनवायरमेंटल पॉलिसीज ऑल्सो मेक गुड पॉलिटिक्स। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
Thank you for these 2 speakers from London and Delhi. What a thought to have, to be able to refuel your car from a lamppost in London, and what an inspiring story from Delhi. Thank you for that. I'll introduce the next 2 keynote speakers at the same time. First, we'll hear from Ninna Hedeager Olsen, who is the technical and environmental mayor of Copenhagen, and she'll talk about the actions that Copenhagen is doing. And then after that, we'll hear from Karin Tuxen-Bettman, lead for Google Earth Outreach and Google's Project AirView, and she will talk about what Google is doing alongside cities to improve data collection. Ninna.
Thank you. Crisp, clean air. This is how air should be. It is as simple as that. Copenhagen is fully committed to the C40 declaration to combat air pollution. We fully support the UN goals to minimize air pollution, and we are dedicated to implement our own goals for reducing air pollution. Because the bottom line is even more simple than that. The air should not make us sick. I say this to remind us all, because processes and agreements and declarations sometimes create a distance between us and the problem. The problem is that millions of people around the globe have no choice but to breathe polluted air. And even in developed, rich cities like Copenhagen, we still die before we should, because the air makes us sick. In Copenhagen, we adopted the Clean Air Plan in 2013 and have been working towards the goal since. And of course, our ambitions to become the world's first carbon-neutral capital is clearly connected to this goal. The development of our cycling city, an extensive electric metro train system, and electric buses all points in this direction. Our development of a greener city, which with more parks and higher degree of urban nature points towards this also. And our shift to sustainable energy sources points to this. So my point is, we know what to do, we know how to avoid death from air pollution, and yet the process still takes decades. Yeah. And yeah, here you can see the new map that comes from the Google data. The data that Google provides in this project is quite impressive. This is the first time we have mapped the ultrafine particles on this level and in this degree of details in Copenhagen. So thank you very much to Google for providing us with more data on this very clear problem that you see. And the data is quite clear as well. We know that the main polluters in our city are cars, stoves, and cruise ships. But the data from Google should make us sit up and focus on fossil transportation for a moment. This mapping shows us that our quiet streets have 10 times lower levels of ultrafine particles than the highway access roads. It shows us that the combination of narrow streets and a lot of car creates elevated levels of air pollution in our city center. It shows us that cars are a major issue. Luckily, that also shows us the way forward. The data makes the argument for registering cars in our cities stronger than ever. That we need more bicycles, pedestrians, and public transportations in our city. Just last week, we landed the greenest budget deal in history of Copenhagen. The focus is on furthering bicycles, limiting cars is strong in the new budget deal. So we have ensured free parking for electric cars and funds for research. Sorry, we have ensured free parking for electric cars and funds for researching car limitation and a better system of air sensors. So this sorts of action is what we need now. So cities don't have to be massive blocks of concrete. They can instead be places in balance with nature, and good developed projects can combine the good things in one: climate adaptation, carbon reduction, urban nature, healthier and happier citizens. So I'm happy to be here today. Today we are pooling our efforts to ensure a better future. Today we are taking a step further to ensure that air does not have to make you sick. Thank you.
so much. And thank you to both C40 and City of Copenhagen for including me on this panel, and also for your partnership. My name is Karin, and I lead Google's air quality efforts. I've been doing this for several years now, but I want to kind of give you a personal introduction to myself and why I am dedicating my career to the topic of air pollution. I grew up in Stockton, California, which is in the center of the state of California. It's a very agricultural heart city of the state. It's kind of inside the breadbasket of the nation. And I remember in the 80s when I was growing up, I would have a great feeling when I would step outside and smell the burning fields, that such warm, wonderful smell of smoke coming from nearby fields. And that's, to this day, when I smell something that reminds me of it, it brings me back to when I'm 6 years old and running around my street, which was a street with very little car traffic, and we'd play in the middle of it. And I just remember that smell is home to me. I didn't know in the 80s that was probably most definitely harming me and the kids that I was playing with on my street. And I think it's because we didn't have that awareness. The science may or may not have been there. We didn't have that awareness as a community that was not good for us. And because of that, policies may not have been pressured to be passed. And so nowadays, when I smell smoke living in California, it's a terrifying feeling. It means a wildfire. It means people I love are going to be evacuated, or worse. And so it's definitely something that is close to my heart. And as I learn and meet and partner with so many people around the world, it's close to everyone's heart. It's an important issue that's important to everybody on the planet, whether they, I guess, know it actively or not, because it's our essence of life. Anyway, so this is why I've dedicated my life to this topic, and I'm really excited to continue working with you all. As I work to help Google bring technology as one of many solutions into this field. So I wanted to talk about how we started this project back in 2013. EDF, the Environmental Defense Fund, actually came to us with this idea of putting sensors on cars and driving around to get hyper-local measurement of the air. And then, at that time, we started, with methane, and we increased it to other pollutants as well. And we brought on partners like Aclima and other partners to help us equip our cars with pollutant measurement devices, including all of these pollutants here. And we've been measuring around California since 2013. And one of our first success stories was of a hyperlocal map of Oakland that published in 2017. And this proved for the first time that this was possible, that we could, grounded in science, produce an annual concentration of, an annual median of concentration of pollution. And community groups in Oakland have already worked using this map to relocate specific polluters, as well as use it in the planning process going forward. And this was not just Google. This was a whole host of partners, including EDF, Aclima, and University of Texas at Austin, including others that helped. And so partnership is very important and key to all of these successes. We've been working with Aclima to map air pollution all across California, and this is just a picture of what 4 cars can do over the span of about 3 years. And again, we do repeated driving. Just one snapshot or one day, one drive down a road is not enough. You need to keep those cars driving, or those trains or those buses driving and commuting around the cities, to get a good picture and an annual concentration value. But I'm very pleased to focus on this map for the rest of the talk, which is the map that we released this week of the City of Copenhagen. This is in partnership with the City of Copenhagen. We work very closely with the Copenhagen Solutions Lab here in Copenhagen, as well as Utrecht University as our main science partners. And then they, in turn, City of Copenhagen have now taken this map to other partners like the Van Leer Foundation and the Gale Architects, who are actually using this map to pinpoint architectural design for the future of tomorrow, the cities of tomorrow. And so I just want to pause on this map, and this will be one of my last points here, is why hyperlocal mapping is so important to this. What does it bring? What is the new insight that it brings? I think there's 3 things I want to leave us with today as we think about city solutions. The first one is it helps to pinpoint policies. Even in a city that's very clean like Copenhagen relative to other cities, you can still find pockets of where you can make improvements, right? You can still see what transit transit lines, what bus lines you might electrify, where you might put in environmental zones, where you might move different potential sources. At the same time, while those policies are being passed and implemented and taking effect, you can start reducing exposure. And that's exactly what the Gale Architect team is working with City of Copenhagen on, is moving kids out of the dirtier streets and putting them in playgrounds and such in the cleaner streets. So you can reduce exposure, especially of the younger citizens, as in the meanwhile, while the policies are taking shape and taking effect. And then the last one, and I've heard this today from both the mayor of New Orleans as well as just the mayor of Delhi, is bringing the public along with you. This really brings it down to the public's attention. My street, what's happening on my neighborhood? And because of that, even if they live in a clean neighborhood, they see someone in a nearby neighborhood and they know, we understand now, we need to band together as a city and help everyone. So really those three aspects I think are super critical, and these hyperlocal maps help to give that insight. You can see these maps today. They currently reside on a site, insights.sustainability.google. If you go on the left-hand side, it's in the lab section because we're still experimenting as we move forward. But this is part of a whole broader effort where we're helping cities monitor emissions and look at transportation emissions. This is where you can find it today on that website, where you can go and look and explore some city statistics as a whole. And the whole methodology is written there as well. But you can also go and see some cities, a few select cities, transportation emissions, where you can actually see, how much carbon dioxide per year tons are being emitted because of transportation, and how many people are in cars, how many people are riding buses and trams and bikes and walking. And the idea of this is that if we can put in more bike lanes, these graphs should change over time. This is annual numbers for a whole city of Dublin in this case, but we want to be able to provide for free insights for cities year over year that their policies are making an impact, and they have that measurement to really track that progress of their emissions reductions, especially related to air quality. The last thing I'll say is that we are trying to ramp up our efforts even more. We're working in collaboration with Aclima and other partners to scale even more to more cars. We committed last year to do 50 cars around the world, and so we hope to do even more than that. But even 50, even 100 cars by Google won't make even a dent, right? We need hopefully every city who has the capacity to put air quality sensors on their own vehicle fleets to be collecting that data, sharing it publicly. We or they or anyone can crunch that data to build insights like I showed you in Copenhagen, so that we can build better policies, bring the public along with us, and have impact on air quality. And with that, I'll say thank you again, and I look forward to the rest of the speech. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Copenhagen and Google for the talks. And now, as we hear from the speakers, we all have a role to play in reducing air pollution. And cities have obviously a very important role in this, and also businesses. And now we'll move on with a panel of cities and businesses talking about this. So to speak about their efforts to provide clean air, I'd like to invite to the stage Begoña Villacís, Vice Mayor of Madrid, please. Thank you. And Xiang, Vice Secretary General for Guangzhou Municipal Government. Welcome. And Pia Heidenmark, who is Chief Sustainability Officer of IKEA. Thank you. And I'll just go around here. Yes. So thank you very much for joining us for this talk. It'll last about half an hour. And if we have more time, please give your questions in the Summit app. There's a place there where you can write a question for the session if you have any, and they'll come up here on the screen afterwards in the end. So you're welcome to do that. So I'd like to start with Madrid. I know there's been some political discussion about this issue in Madrid, and you just laid out a plan, and you also signed the declaration for C40 for clean air. So can you tell us something about this plan, and what actions are you taking to address the top causes of air pollution in Madrid?
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity so I can explain it. And I think it's really good to explain things, because sometimes what you see in the news is not really what is actually happening. That happens usually when we see how the government changes, and everybody is like, they don't know what really expect out of it, because we're talking about we are a new government, and we are in a coalition. There's two parties here, one Conservative Party and one Liberal Party. I'm from the Liberal Party. And at the very beginning, our positions against the, respect the concerning the low emission area was not the same. But when we packed, we decided together to maintain it.
Yes.
So there's no way back. It's going to stay. We didn't go back there, but we thought at the time is that the way to approach the problem that we have with the pollution, because we do have a problem with the pollution. I mean, since 1999, we took, every time we contract, all our policies, you know, they are done regarding the pollution, right? And all the pollutants we've been dropping, actually, but it's still, in two pollutants, we're still worried about them, because we are above all the measures, and we have people living there. So we realized that that's not what I want for my kids, my babies there. I don't want my girls to breathe that. So for us, it's clear. So what we decide is that the way to approach the problem is not only by a low emission area. Not only we're going to stay, but I think it's not too ambitious, because that low emission area, it was very small, only 1.5% of all the traffic in Madrid. So it was not really effective. If you look at the measure, it could help just a little, but we need to be more ambitious. Why? Because the way Madrid is, most of the people don't live in Madrid. Most of the cars that you will see in Madrid don't really live in Madrid. They live outside Madrid.
So what's the most important action you're taking in the plan?
It's not only one. There's so many actions. Well, first of all, you need restrictions. We all learned that, and there's no way back on that. By 2025, there are not going to be contaminating polluting cars here in Madrid. We start in 2020. So we do need the restrictions, but you also need to give the people alternatives and options. So for example, we have a good transportation system, very good in Spain, very good in Madrid, and we are going to improve it even more. Electric buses, for example. We are going to give even free buses to go across the city, so just people can use it and don't use public transportation. We have a lot of things regarding the traffic, but we are also thinking about more problems, because sometimes when you come here and you talk about pollution, you need to think that the countries of the south of Spain, of the south of Europe, we have other problems too. Desertification. Nobody's speaking about that much, but in Spain we have a problem with that. October is supposed to be the rainiest day of the whole year. We got no day of rain, no one day. September, we only have like 2 days of rain. We have a problem with that. We are running out of water. So actually, if you look at Madrid, we have heat islands, and actually the south is becoming a desert, and there's no way we can admit that, because that's a big problem for us. So one of the things that everybody, when you run for election, I ran for election 4 months ago. I was giving birth at the same time. It was a crazy time of my life. But 1 week before the election, I was actually giving birth. But all the future mayors, they promise something, right? They promise infrastructures. They promise roads. They promise bridges, things like that. We promise the first and the biggest green infrastructure for Madrid. We're talking about a huge forest, 75 kilometers long, which is going to be a long for Madrid, but it's also useful because we want like all the kids from Madrid to plant their trees, all the elder people to plant their trees and connect to the city like that and learn, because you need to change the habits, and that's a very good way to do it. Okay. We have a lot more things, but yes.
Yes.
The other people want to talk to you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to proceed with Xiang from Guangzhou, the Vice Secretary General there. I know that Chinese cities have had challenges with the air pollution, and a new research shows how we can really save a lot of lives doing something about this. And can you tell us, or what can you tell us about Guangzhou's plans to reduce air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions? Because I know that you have come a long way in this regard.
Thank you. Guangzhou as a megacity, one of megacity in China, we do tried our best to do the clean air mission. Yes. I'd like to tell you some achievements we already made. I think it's amazing thing. Yeah. In 2017, Guangzhou is the first city to reach the national standard for PM 2.5 among all Chinese capital cities with GDP of over 1 billion and a permanent population of over 10 million. So we are the first city like that to achieve the national standard for PM 2.5. So this last year, 2018, we also reached the national standard again. It means our the air for PM 2.5 is also our aim. So that means Guangzhou is the only one city that reached the national grade second standard among the 9 national central cities. So in the first 8 months of this year, the average concentration of PM 2.5 in Guangzhou was 28 microgram per cubic meter. So lower than the national standard for 35 microgram per cubic meter. So we made a lot of progress than last year.
Yes.
So what we do is to like this. One is optimize the energy structure and eliminate backward production capacity. Since 2005, Guangzhou has proposed to remove polluting enterprises from the main urban area year by year, and has closed more than 319 heavily polluting enterprises. From 2008 to 2010, 91 outdated cement enterprises were eliminated and 23 small power projects were shut down. So since 2013, we have further eliminated 2013. Yeah, we have further eliminated backward production capacities in various industries, such as printing, dyeing, tanning, and cement. In 2017, we eliminated the backward production capacity of the steel industry and the power industry. Shut down to coal-fired power, very big coal-fired power. This is first thing we
So it's
did.
quite remarkable.
Yes.
What you have achieved.
Yeah, a long time effort. Secondly is to carry out super clean emission reform of coal-fired power plants, like eliminate small-scale decentralized coal-fired power, like carry out transformation for clean energy emission.
So what would be your advice? You have put in efforts on a lot of different areas to reach these goals, and I see that Guangzhou is really on the top of the line there in what you have achieved. So what do you think other cities can learn? Other similar cities or cities what can they do learn from the path that you have taken?
And I think it's a very long way to go, you know. I think the first one is to form the idea of the I think the very important things, you have to take it very seriously from the government, from the city, from the people in the city. Yeah, so we need to do together to do something. Changes have to done. So I think this is the first thing, and the second one is to need a coordinating mechanism. Most of carbon come from various parts such as energy, consumption, transportation, and construction, etc. So a lot of things have to be done by the cooperation from various parts of the economy or government or people or communication. And the third one, I think we should make sure to ensure proactive and steady advancement. So I mean, there's no ready-made solution to climate change. So reduction of greenhouse gas emission must be carried out with mandatory assessment indicators. In the meantime, measures should be taken very carefully. Yeah, so like Guangzhou, we are exploring future trading of carbon products and use market mechanisms to promote greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, that I think that's. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that has to be done at the same time.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pia Heidenmark Cook from IKEA, where you're Chief Sustainability Officer. You have a huge company with 300 metropolitan areas where your stores are located. What are your actions on the fight against air pollution? Can you tell us something about that?
Absolutely. I want to talk about three things. But before I do, I thought I'd just connect to why IKEA and air pollution, because I think many of you know us as a home furnishing company. But the vision of IKEA, and has been since we were founded 75 years ago, is to create a better everyday life for the many people. And we do that through providing affordable home furnishing solutions, because we believe that if you have a good life at home, it's just easier to tackle the day-to-days. And today, creating a better everyday life for the many people, that vision has never been more relevant, really. Because if you can't breathe the air where you live, or you can't trust the water coming out the tap, or you can't walk in the streets and be safe, then that's really not a better everyday life for the many. So we are looking at three things when it comes to air quality. One is really the connection between climate change and air quality. The other one is outdoor air quality problems, and then indoor. And if I look at climate change, we are one of 87 companies that have signed up to the 1.5 degree pledge in New York 2 weeks ago. And we're really looking at how can we, across our entire value chain, decouple growth from climate change. which means that we're looking at our own operations, we're looking at the materials we're using, we're also looking at our suppliers, we're also looking at how can we engage and enable the many customers, and we have around 800 million customers to IKEA every year. How can we engage them to also change their life in terms of being a more sustainable and healthy life? And as an example, as a proof point, what we've done is that we, since now actually, we just announced in New York that we are producing as much renewable energy as we consume for our own operations. We do that by putting 920,000 solar panels on the roofs of our stores and our shopping centers, but we're also investing and operating 534 wind parks across 14 countries. If I take indoor air pollution, it's a lot through the range and the products that we deliver to our customers or make available to our customers. We're a wood-based company, so most of our products, 60%, contain wood. And formaldehyde is a problem with gas offsetting in homes. We follow the strictest EU guidelines across all countries. So we always go for the strictest guideline. We are now in February launching a new curtain, and it's an air purifying curtain. So actually helping to clean the air in households. And we have since many years only selling LEDs, which also helps to make the house more energy efficient. And then lastly, outdoor air pollution. We see a big change in consumer behavior with e-commerce, but also home deliveries. So that is growing a lot. So 2 years ago, we decided that all our home deliveries will be done by electric vehicles or zero emission options. So we are now deploying electric vehicles in 14 markets. We have done for 5 cities, we committed to go all in and have 100%. Shanghai, already 100%. Since actually December last year, so a year above or before target. And the other cities, Paris, Amsterdam, New York, and LA, well on their way. And then we have more cities. So really setting the goal quickly. And 75% of our stores already have electric charging vehicles for chargers. So you can always, if you have a problem finding charging for your electric vehicle, go to an IKEA store.
Okay, okay. So we know that the private sector has a huge importance here, and you mentioned the consumers. We see a big shift in consumers being more and more aware about their environmental footprint. So what's your advice to other companies who want to venture into doing something about this?
I would say act and do what we do best as companies, which is really solve problems and find new ways. And use the creativity you have as a company to set goals. I would say, just to be very open, when we set the goal of 100% electric vehicles or zero emission by 2025, and that was 2 years ago, we were at 0%. So there were a lot of discussions internally, wow, this is a big stretch. But by setting 100% goals, no country, no store, or no part of your business can opt out. Because you know that 100% means everyone. The second one would be to work together with other companies, mayors, cities, states, NGOs, because these problems are so big, we can't solve them alone. And I would like to encourage actually all of us, both mayors and companies, we need to get better at understanding each other, both in terms of what makes companies tick, what works in a city, how can we solve problems together, because our co-workers, they live in your cities, our customers live in your cities, your citizens live there. So let's come together and solve congestion, for example. How can we be smarter in terms of not having every company delivering into your citizens' households, but let's be smart about and plan it better and do it together.
Thank you. And just, yeah, let's be smart. And about being smart, I'd like to ask you, Begoña, Villacís, how do you use technology in your task to find out the top causes of this problem? Can you share some examples of that?
Yeah, I can share some examples, but I'd like to say something about the reason we are here for. Because this is a meeting of mayors, vice mayors, people that work in local politics. I think our politics are so important to approach this. I remember what Al Gore said yesterday. And it is true, mayors are so important. We are probably the first politics that are going to fight against climate change. Why? I always think, I love local politics. I love it. That's why I'm here, right? I think that we are like the skin of the administration. We are like the sense. We hear things first, we see things first because we're closer, and we smell things first. That's why it is so important, local politics is going to be determined to fight against climate change. So we have to realize how important we are right now and what we have to do. And I think that when we talk about governing a city, the best thing that we could do as mayors is letting the citizen rule the city as well. And how can we do that? For example, using technology. I think that the citizen, when they are really well informed, maybe through the application like you, I just request Madrid to be there because it's not, and Madrid needs to be there too. If you are smarter, if you have more information, you're going to make better decisions. So one of the things that we are doing right now, well, we are using data. We work with you guys at C40 and provide you all the data and all the information so we can take conclusions out of it. We do model, with all the information we get so we can take conclusions out of it. But we are right now working in a plan so the citizens can read easily all those dates so they can decide better. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, if they see how the pollution is right now, we have a problem with the NOx, like a lot of people, but we do have a problem exactly with that pollution. If people know what it means, what it's going to do to them, and the level that it is today in your city, maybe that pushes you to use the bus instead of the car. So what we need is well-informed people. What we need to have is like responsible citizens, and we're actually working in a plan like that. We do other things like using app for the parking so you don't spend much time polluting, things like that. But for me, if I have to tell you the most important thing, and is that we have to work to have a well-informed population to choose responsibly. That's what we need to do.
Okay. Thank you, all of you. And I think we have a few minutes here to see if there are any questions. And if anyone has written questions in the app, and you should be able to see them down here in a while. So if any one of you would like to answer, then that should be possible. See, there's one question here. What have been some successful approaches to partnership between the private and public sector to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality? So do any of you have any knowledge of successful partnerships between private and public in this regard? We heard about Google, so any other partnerships that you heard of?
We were speaking BTMath, car sharing. We are #1 city in car sharing in Europe. And let me tell you something that we're really proud of. We are the city with the highest expectancy of life out of the whole Europe. The women in Spain live up to 87.8 years, which is a lot. You guys only 82. But we last long in Spain. And we live long, but we need quality of life as well. I think that you have quality of life if you live as long. Madrid is a great place to live. I mean, you need to come here, you need to come to Madrid to see it, but it's a great place to live. Now it needs to be a great place to breathe, and that's what we're working on right now.
Thank you. Do we have another question here coming up? We can just see.
They know everything.
It's coming here. How have citizens' engagement, customer outreach, and awareness helped to build momentum for support for action in your city, or businesses, I should add? What are examples of ways you've effectively engaged with citizens? Do any of you want to comment on that? So this is about how your engagement with the citizens or the customers has helped build more support for the project.
I can come with an example, but it's not a specific. It's not citizens actually; it's co-workers and customers. But you know what? They're all the same people. But in the UK, we work with a project called Live Lagom, which means live enough. You don't need a lot, so live enough. And we've done it now with 4,000 customers and co-workers, and it's really about, like you said, the awareness and knowledge. And once you start to test also, so understand the impact, but then also test out products, and then see that actually sorting my waste is not that much more difficult, or having LEDs rather than the normal, or taking the bus instead of taking the car. Once you start doing it, you start to see a change in behavior. So I would say that's one of the best examples we have, is really starting to do it with knowledge. And then they share it on Facebook, and they bring more and more people in, my friends and
how
family.
do you experience that the customers are being more aware about that?
They ask more and more questions, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
In Madrid right now, when we first had to apply the protocol because we were exceeding the pollution limit, at the very beginning, the people were like kind of uncomfortable with it, let's say it like that. But you know what? After a year, we request whether if they are worried or not about pollution. And now, 1 out of 3 people in Madrid, they think that is the biggest problem for Madrid.
Okay.
So that's, you know, I think that's very positive, because it means that we're working in the right way.
Yeah, we just had an election in Denmark, and I think a lot of people were very surprised as to how much climate ended up filling the agenda for the whole election, because it's just changed over the last 3-4 years to becoming like the biggest subject for the people. So that's really interesting. I want to thank you very much for participating here today. Thank you very much for your insights. And for you, I just want to close off by saying thank you for coming. The purpose was more knowledge and insights, so thank you very much.